Who were your top, and this is documented, so don't try to lie now. Who were your top 5 quarterbacks coming into this year in college football for the 2026 NFL draft?
So if we go back to my top 50 that came out in August, it would have been Arch Manning, Lenora Sellers, Garrett Nussmeier, Fernando Mendoza, and Drew Aller. Top five. And they would have spanned between 2 and like 35 in the top 50. Safe to say, or that Arch Manning, projection has not panned out the way we thought it would. I don't even think we consider him a 2026 prospect anymore. We're looking at him at 2027 and beyond. Nussmeier, everything that's happened with that LSU offense, that's been a struggle. Lenora Sellers is tough because the talent is evident, and you watch South Carolina play, and I don't think that the quarterback's the problem. And so Lenora Sellers is still just 20 years old. He's a young player, and he'll have a big decision to make after this year about what his future holds. He's a South Carolina kid. His younger brother's on the team. So transferring isn't exactly an obvious answer for him. Do you go to the NFL? Do you really think going back to South Carolina is going to make you better? So Lenora Sellers kind of in a weird spot. Fernando Mendoza was a top 20 prospect coming in. He has only elevated himself with the way he's played as a first-year starter at Indiana, coming over from Cal. He's got the Hoosiers as a national title contender. And then Drew Aller, unfortunately, things did not play out the way he had hoped over the first month of the season. And then, unfortunately for him, he doesn't have the second half of the season to kind of rectify that and make things better after that season-ending ankle injury that is going to sideline him for who knows how long. Hopefully we see him back during the draft process so he can throw for scouts.
All right, so who are like the top 3 or 4 guys now? So, Paulie and I just went over a bunch of teams might be drafting quarterbacks in the top 10. It sounds like Mendoza's the only guy that's still one of the top 3 or 4 now. Is that right?
Well, I think that if you're going to put odds on it right now, I think Mendoza is the odds-on favorite to be the first quarterback drafted. I think he's a very similar skill set to, say, like a Jared Goff, where the physical traits aren't necessarily going to wow you, but it's the football IQ. It's what he does pre and post snap. That Indiana offense is very RPO heavy, so he does a great job of reading the defense, understanding what they're trying to do, and then finding solutions. He's very accurate. You see a lot of back shoulders. You see a lot of in that RPO offense. It's all based on the run. So it's something that I'm hoping that we see Indiana, Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game, just to see Mendoza go up against a defense the caliber of Ohio State. That can be really fun for evaluation purposes. But after Mendoza, then I think you talk about Ty Simpson at Alabama. The trouble with Ty Simpson is he's a first-year starter. I mean, he's the rare case of a player who graduated college before he threw his first touchdown pass in college. Like, you just don't see that in today's NFL because if you're blocked on the depth chart, you're going to transfer. Well, Ty Simpson, he's a 5-star kid, waited his turn behind Bryce Young, and then 2 years of Jalen Milroe, finally gets his chance now, and you watch the tape and you see an NFL starter. But if he declares after this year, he's going to have 13, 14, 15 starts, and that's tough. You look back the last 10 years, quarterbacks that have had 25 or fewer starts, we're talking about the Mitchell Trubiskys, the Anthony Richardsons. The best quarterback who had such meager experience and has done well is Sam Darnold. But he's on his 5th team. He needed those bumps along the road to become the quarterback that we're seeing today in Seattle. And then Dante Moore at Oregon would be the other one I would want to mention. But he's 20 years old, still young. Oregon pays well. I think there's a good chance we see him go back for another year for the Ducks. So a lot will depend on these underclassmen and which guys come out.
It's kind of weird, though, Dane, because hearing you talk and seeing what happened with, especially, I would say, Nussmeier, Aller, and Sellers, if I'm advising Simpson, Moore, Mendoza, I feel like I tell them to go, because sometimes you come back for that next year, you could play worse, you could get hurt. There's a larger sample size of people kind of picking out your warts. I mean, who's to say that if Simpson and Moore and Mendoza all came back next year, that they wouldn't have this similar things happen to them that happened with Nussmeier, Aller, Sellers, and Manning?
It's true, but I think there's two sides of it, especially in today's NIL when you could Carson Beck could have left for the NFL and maybe been a third round pick, but he went back to school and he's making what $4 million this year, and he's still probably gonna be a third or fourth round pick. With Sellers, he's in a tough spot. But if he were to be on the quote unquote open market in college football, he would get paid pretty handsomely. And I still think that his skill set will be very popular when it comes to the 2027 draft. But I think it's very telling that the Jets, they were perfectly fine picking up those 2027 draft picks in the first round when they made the trades this week. And I think that is very intentional when you look at the quarterbacks this year and then the quarterbacks for next year. I know it's very cliche to say, oh, just wait for next year's class. It's going to be better. I don't. Scouts. They look at it and they think that's kind of true this year. Next year, you talk about maybe an Arch Manning. We'll see where he's at. Julian Sayin, what he's doing at Ohio State. They're looking at a 2027 quarterback class, especially if Dante Moore goes back, Lenore Sellers goes back, and thinking that 2027 quarterback class could be where teams really think they can strike gold. And we'll see how, and teams thought that last year. The Browns thought it was a one quarterback draft last year, and Cam Ward went number one. And so the Browns at number two, they went to plan B. And, that's how things played out for them. This year, we'll see who comes out. I think Fernando Mendoza will come out, and then any other underclassmen. And that there will be a trickle down effect. There'll be a domino effect of how these teams operate and, how they look to move around in the draft.